Hello dear viewers watching RTD's English News Edition. Here are our top stories. An inspection visit for the rehabilitation work in the capital. In Europe, Southern Europe in the face of storms. Under the leadership of its chairman, the Honorable Sharmaki Musa Array, the Finance, General Economy and Planning Committee continued on Sunday, 22nd December, the examination of the finance bill on the final settlement of the 2018 state budget. This meeting, which was attended by members and non-members of parliament, was held with the participation of the Minister of Budget, Abdul Karim Aden Sher, accompanied by key officials of his ministerial department, as well as the hearing of the ministers in general in charge of the national education, higher education and the interior respectively. And at the end of the enlightenment provided by the members of the government, the committee will continue tomorrow with the hearing of the departments in charge of the solidarity, water and energy. The Minister of Women and Family Affairs, Ms. Mumina Hamad Hassan, accompanied by the deputies of the region, Ms. Muhammad Hamid, went to the localities of Tujora in the Mabla subsector. Details with Dina Musa.
Special led by the Minister of Women and the Family was welcomed by a community of women's associations during this event, where the population reserved for them a warm welcome. This proximity tour is part of the policies to discuss, exchange, and immerse themselves in the situation of the people in the region, but especially to listen and collect the concerns and aspirations of the people. Shortly afterwards, the Minister of Women and Family, Mumina Hamad Hassan, continued her tour in the region of Tajara. She visited the locality of Rupta, accompanied by the deputies of the region, Mrs. Hamid. Delegations was warmly welcomed by the Association of Rupta and Oklas of the region. The visit enabled the minister and her delegation to discuss with the association and to collect their grievances. Then the minister had a long exchange and discussion with the community, who shared their needs with her. To this effect, the minister promised to transmit all the governments that are not within her competence to the concerned ministerial departments. Finally, the minister visited the Rupta Arts Workshop.
General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Army, received this morning in his office at the General Staff of the Army General Bernard Barrera, a Major General of the Army. More details in this video with Dini Musa.
The French general was accompanied by Major General Eric Garnes, commander of the French forces, and Colonel Hugues de Rocamar, military attaché. On the Djiboutian side, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim was assisted by Brigadier General Tahir Ali Mohammed, Chief of Defense Staff, and Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Qaid Naji, Chief of Staff of SEMGA. Welcome at the front porch of the General Staff at the Armed Forces by Colonel Wajdi Jama' Musa, Chief of Staff of the RQG. General Bernard Berria attended this troop review set up in his honor. Then the Major General of the Army was received by the Chief of the General Staff of the Army. General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of General Staff of the Army, opened the meeting by welcoming General Bernard Berria in Djibouti, land of exchange and encounter. At the same time, SEMGA expressed its deepest condolence following the collision accident of the two helicopters that caused the death of 13 French soldiers in Mali last month. In his speech, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim stressed that the Republic of Djibouti and France have always maintained very good, close, and exceptional relations of cooperation. This is reflected in the excellent relations between the French forces and the Djiboutian forces. General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim continued his speech that the Republic of Djibouti, situated in a terminated region, has been able to preserve our national unity thanks to the enlightened policy of His Excellency, the President of the Republic. The Republic of Djibouti remains a model of stability and it's pursuing its path of development in several areas.
The ambassador of Djibouti in the Sisterly Arab Republic of Egypt, Mr. Mohammed Tahar Hersi, participated in the work of the Specialized Ministerial Committee for African Defense, Security and Safety in the Administrative Capital, which lasted until the 19th of December in the new administrative capital. The committee's work discussed defense, safety and security issues on the African continent. The host country presided over the meetings, which are held on 3 levels consisting of experts, chief of staffs and defense ministers to come up with recommendations and present them during the following African summit for the adoption by the African Union countries to enter into force. The joint security committee between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Djibouti held its first meeting at the headquarters of the General Directorate of Border Guard in Riyadh. The Director General of the Saudi Border Guard, Lieutenant General Awad bin Aid al-Balwawi, headed the Saudi side, while the Djibouti side was headed by Siraj Omar Abdul Qadir, Secretary General of the Ministry of Interior of Djibouti. In the presence of members of the Joint Security Committee from both sides. In its meeting, the committee reviewed ways to enhance cooperation paths on a number of topics, in addition to exchanging experiences in visits and cooperation in a number of areas. In accordance with the Prime Minister's directives, the Prefect of the City of Djibouti, today accompanied by officials from the ADR, OVD and ONEAT, an exhibition visit to see firsthand the progress of rehabilitation work on streets, main roads and the opening of sewer canals. ADR, OVD and ONEAT have carried out extensive operations to remove dirt and dust, open sewage canals and restore streets in various neighborhoods after last month's heavy rains that caused a lot of damage. The National Technical Center hosted this morning the third edition of the training on Olympic education organized by the Djibouti National Olympic and Sports Committee. The launch of the training was presided over by the new Secretary General of the Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Ms. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, in the presence of the President of the CNOSD, Mrs. Aisha Garat, the Director of Sports, Mr. Abshir Ali, and members of the CNSOSD, leaders of the sports movements and beneficiaries of the training. In her speech, Ms. Aisha Garat first thanked the participants for their presence and then briefly recalled the objective of the training. The Secretary General expressed her joy to participate in her first event alongside Mrs. Aisha, to whom she assured her full availability for a frank collaboration in the best interests of youth in general and in sports in particular. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Labor in charge of Administration Reform, Mr. Abdullah Ali Mohammed, closed the proceeding of the workshop to launch of the OIS Occupational Safety and Health Profile in Djibouti. Explanations in this report. The Secretary General of the Labor has organized this report. The National Technical Center improved the implementation of the OHS. This workshop brought together the main stakeholders in occupational hazards prevention, including employers' organization. After participating in a conference of Arab countries of peoples with special needs held from 8 to 11 December in Cairo, Egypt, the Director General of INPH made an official visit from 15 to 19 December in Kuwait. They later held talks with the Director General of the Kuwaiti Public Authority for the Disabled, Dr. Shafiqa Abdurazul, and the Kuwaiti Associations of the Disabled, the Kuwaiti Welfare Fund Association, and as well as whose ways and means he discussed possible cooperation between the National Agency for the Disabled and those in these Arab organizations for the benefit of the disabled in our country. It is proof of the commitment of policies to promote the participation and role of persons with disabilities and to advance the Sustainable Development Program up to 2030 was celebrated today in the Republic of Djibouti through the upcoming implementation of a diagnostic plan process for the first national disability strategy. After the region of Tajora, the delegation went on Wednesday, 11 December in Obok. On the arrival of the delegation paid a courtesy visit to the prefect and to the regional council chairman. The first mission of this team was to popularize to the associations and other community actors legal taxes on the protection of women and children that our country to adopt over the past few years, added to the previous activities on information and consultation meeting about the early learning center pilot who is serving openly in Obok in the coming months. The campaign was held at the Obok Regional Council. After the fruitful and interesting exchanges, all of the participants expressed satisfaction with the government's initiatives and urged policymakers to go further in this regard. The first feature film by our famous filmmaker Lula Ali Ismail The film was screened at the Bawadi Mall Cinema last Thursday night. Talinyero, or in English, Youth, the story of three young high school girls preparing to take their baccalaureate exams and asking themselves existing questions about their futures fascinates beyond our borders. Havdeka, Isma, and Hibo, these young heroines who are living the adventures of their age, conquer the hearts of filmmakers around the world. Has Lula Ali Ismail succeeded in their waga by relying on the spontaneity, originality, and as well as of these three teenage girls. Is Lula Ali Ismail conquering world cinema? The question doesn't seem to disturb Lula, who lives her quiet life as a filmmaker, mother, and woman committed to the social issues of her time. The recent meeting she granted us convinced us of this. Director Lula Ali Ismail stressed that she has done a lot of work for 6 years and finally the film is finished. On Wednesday, December 18, the new Secretary General of the SEJ, Ms. Khadija Ibrahim Idris, visited Ali Sabih in order to make contact with the different services of the department. On arrival, the delegation was warmly welcomed by the Prefect of the Asajog region, Mr. Musa Adan Migani, his deputies, the Vice President of the Regional Council of Ali Sabih, Mr. Nur Said Gildonin, representative of the sports and youth movement. Afterwards, the delegation went to the community center where a very enthusiastic welcome was given to them. The East Africa Academy of Djibouti closed yesterday afternoon a youth tournament at the Hormuz Sports Complex. This tournament is part of the sports program of the 2019-2020 sports season. This sports program is composed of regular training sessions, but also youth tournaments organized every 2 months. The youth tournaments are an opportunity for our educators to take stock or evaluate everything we have worked with the young trainees during the last 2 months. The aim of these youth football academies is to promote the talent of future top-level players capable of defending the Djibouti flag on the international stage. News from around the world. Southern Europe facing deadly weather. In Spain, the toll of the storm Elsa has increased. Explanations in this video.
The toll of the storm Elsa has increased. At least 5 people have died in Asturias. 1 man was swept away by a landslide. Another died in Santiago de Compostela. 3 others died in Palma de Mallorca, in the Leon province, and in Madrid. In Portugal, the death toll was 2, one in the Setúbal region and other in the district of Viseu. The north of the country is particularly affected. 16 small ports had to close due to strong winds and rushing swells. The country is now preparing for the next storm, nicknamed Fabien. Heavy weather warnings also over the south of France. About 15 departments should be affected by Sunday. In Corsica, winds could reach 140 to 160 kilometers per hour on the open caps and the relief.
In India, thousands of demonstrators yesterday Saturday participated in new protests against a controversial nationality law.
New clashes broke out in India on Friday, December 20, between police and demonstrators mobilized against a new Hindi Nationalist Power Citizenship Act that makes it easier to grant Indian citizenship to refugees from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, but not those of Muslim faith. Its opponents consider it discriminatory and contrary to the Indian constitution.
That's all for this news. Thank you for joining us on the radio television of Djibouti, and have a good night.